Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here. This is episode 3, playing in the American Civil War mod for Empire Total War. And I've got the diplomatic window open here. We're going to do a little negotiating with King George the First, which is kind of interesting that it's King George the First of Britain. I guess it's just probably how the mod works, because it actually should be Victoria at this time, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to see if we can get a trade agreement with Britain, see if they counter with anything. Looks like it worked out. Awesome. Very cool. So that should bring a little more income for me. And one thing I wanted to point out, I just noticed on the map, and that is, if you remember, if you've seen the first 2 episodes, I am an ally of the United Provinces, which is basically the Netherlands. And they have taken Mississippi. They've also taken the western part of Texas. So already that alliance is bearing fruit and making my job easier. But in the meantime, we're going to focus on a couple things. One is we want to take this gold minefield from the Confederacy. And I believe I've got the troops to do that here in Kansas, where some of them are recovering. So we're going to wait a turn or two while I replenish some of my recovering troops from that poor showing in my previous battle here in Kansas. In the meantime, we'll send some more troops down from some of these other places to help with that. Got some cavalry here. These troops have all suffered greatly, so we're going to get them going again. And other than that, really, there's not a lot that I'm going to work on right now other than just upgrading some more of my territories just to get some more income, especially these farms. I think I've got, at least for the time being, I've got the troops to get done what I need to do. I fought this battle over here in Virginia and pretty well took them out. We're going to send somebody after them to finish them off. I guess this army can do it because I've got enough troops still sitting in and around Washington to kind of handle things there. So we're going to pursue these guys and finish them off. Looks like I've already moved this turn, so I can't do anything right now, but we'll take care of that, and we'll see what happens next. So real quick before I move on to the next turn, just looking over the victory conditions that are necessary in order to win. You can see here that I've got to hold 3 that I don't currently hold, which is Lower Texas, Virginia, Florida, and New France, which I'm not even sure where that is. I guess it's up here. So for whatever reason, we have to take New France from Britain. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but I guess we'll see how that all works out as we move forward. Let's go ahead and hit the turn. We've got to keep an eye out. He looks like he's moving a main army over toward the west out of Virginia. He also had a huge army that looks like it was moving out in the far west. So I'm a little concerned about that because I don't have that much out there to deal with them. So let's go take a look at that real quick. It's a little choppy when you move on the map for some reason. So right there is what I'm worried about, is this guy here. He's got a pretty big army, and I can't even see exactly what he's got. But I know it's a big force that I can't possibly contend with. So I'm going to have to start shifting some resources over there to deal with them, because that's going to be a real problem for me. So I'll look over some things, and we'll see if we can strike that army there. In the meantime, let's look back over on this side. And this is the army that I was talking about that seems to be moving out of Richmond and moving to the west, which it almost seems like he's giving me the option to be able to just march in there and take Richmond without much of an effort whatsoever. This one little unit that's up here, I'm not going to pursue him with this army because I could pursue him with my army out of DC instead. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these units that have already been pretty heavily engaged and kind of need a respite, and we're going to send them back to Washington, and we're going to swap them out in favor of some of these other ones. that are kind of fully ready to go. And the problem is I don't have too many of the really good troops here. A lot of them are militia. You can kind of see the difference with the icons there, so that concerns me a little bit that I'm going in with a lot of militia. But it is 1861, and that's kind of to be expected. That's how it was historically. So we'll take some of these fresh, ready-to-go troops and put them into my army.
Waiting further orders.
We'll take them over here, and we're going to have to merge with these forces. And, of course, that means I'm not quite ready to go down here, but we're going to go ahead and start heading toward Richmond because he doesn't have much of a force there. At the very least, that ought to get these guys to turn around and pay attention, I would think.
Ready and waiting orders.
So now we'll go ahead and give some orders to... I think I did that wrong. I should have troops in... There they are. Okay. So we've got troops here that need replenished. We're going to deal with that. Actually, not too many, though. Alright, we're in good shape there. Let's take a look over here in kind of the central region of the map. Nashville. He doesn't really have much of a force to threaten me there. So I'm going to park this. This is kind of a smaller army, but I'm going to kind of keep them right here in this town. Sycamore Shoals, Kentucky, which I've never heard of, but okay. Because what that allows me to do is to kind of protect in case he decides to come up and over these mountains. Alright, I think I should be good for now. Alright, so looking over the results from the last turn that just happened. New town emerges up in Massachusetts. We got an area that's been blocked, and that's because of this army up here. Exactly what I hoped would happen did happen. I sent that force down toward Richmond, or at least I prepared for that, and he started moving back. So that's exactly what I was hoping would happen in that situation, and it did.
More orders. March.
So we're going to kind of replenish some of these guys, and I'm going to send just a real small force to finish these guys off. We're going to send some Zouaves and a couple of units of militia to deal with these guys. So I've got 1,439 against 125 men. I'm not even going to bother to fight that battle. We'll just go ahead and auto-resolve that one. You can see I lost 14 men. So problem solved. We wiped out that army. Rifled muskets. Awesome. That's going to help a lot. And honestly, this is one of the reasons why the casualties were so insanely high in the Civil War and a lot of the battles. Because of the development of rifled muskets, and especially the mini ball, which wasn't a ball at all. It's kind of confusing because when you see a ball, that was usually a smoothbore for a musket. The mini ball was what you see most often being sold as souvenirs in Gettysburg and places like that. They look like a scrunched down version of a modern day bullet. Same shape. They've got those grooves on the bottom like 3 rings. And they were deadly accurate compared to anything that had happened before. And as it says here, they're made of soft lead. So what happens is that soft lead is what caused so much of the damage during the Civil War. Because it would enter slowly and it would just smash to pieces the bones and things like that. And that's why there were so many amputations. So let's take a look at some other things that happened. We've got a bunch of new units that we recruited. I'll have to get in there and name those as quickly as I can. You can see I recruited them all in the west because that was where I was worried about what was happening with that big army moving out to the west. So that's where I did all that. And it looks like William Seward gained a mistress. So there's a lot of that going on in Washington right now. But let's take a look here where that army is. He seems to have disappeared into the fog of war. Oh, no, there he is right there. Okay, so he is definitely moving towards Cheyenne. So I've got to... The problem is I'm probably not going to get the rest of my forces there in time. So I've got a pretty small force here right now to take that army on and see if I can shift some of these guys down quickly. These are all line infantry, so they should be pretty good troops. You can see, I think that army's going to get there first, but hopefully they'll be close enough that they can be a supporting force when the time comes. Alright, I want to take a look, because money is suddenly kind of an issue here. My income next turn is about 5,000, so that's good. I've just got to be really careful that I don't get too low to where I can't support the forces that I have. So let's see what he's up to here. Alright, so it's kind of chronicling things as they happen, as they happened historically. Obviously, I've got a much larger army, I think, than historically the Union had at this point in the war. I think we're only into July of 1861. We desperately need to get these forces closer. I think they should be in range to help support by the time battle happens there. And let's think about where else we can be advancing. Okay, there's a small force right here, so I've got to be careful of that. But I've got a pretty decent army here in St. Louis, so we may go ahead and march out with those guys. I'm going to leave behind some militia. Don't have any artillery, unfortunately, but we're going to start heading toward these guys. So we'll have conflict there before long. Alright, I'm going to go out and deal with these guys too, because they're wreaking some havoc on my farmland, and I don't like it. So we'll leave behind a decent force in Nashville, and we'll march out. Alright, so he's got 640. We're going to go ahead and fight this one. Alright, let's do this. This one should go pretty well. He doesn't have a huge force. Looks like some pretty nasty weather happening, though. So he's just got these two units of 360. 320 there, actually. And 320, so I honestly could probably just ride right in with my mounted infantry, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my regular infantry take care of this one. And then maybe try to march around. So I'm going to go right into these woods. I'll bring my cavalry around this way. I'll bring them over here first. And I'll try to get around him. And the rest of these units we're just going to march forward with. Really wish I had artillery. I've got to start getting artillery with all of my armies. Let's watch them march. Walking through the grass. So these first units going to get into position here pretty quickly to be able to fire. In fact, I think I'm going to hold right here at this fence. No. Stay on this side of the fence, guys. I think there's a way to do this, but I'm not finding it. No. Don't face that way, guys. Alright. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you'd like it to. Alright, we're going to halt right here. Alright, and while they're fighting that out, let's get these guys going. We're going to bring them around over here. Once they're in position, I'll send them in. Those guys are not in a very good situation. Alright, boys. That's the 2nd United States Infantry. We've got a regular infantry unit there. Really dark, cloudy skies there on this one. I'm honestly surprised these guys are hanging on this long. I may just let my infantry take care of this one because I don't think I want to rush my cavalry into this situation and have to worry about ordering all of them. My general died. Oh, man. First Kentucky hasn't lost a man. These guys have lost quite a few, but they're taking the brunt of the enemy forces' fire. 4th Ohio's doing all right. All right, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to tell all of the infantry to hold their fire. And we're going to finish these guys off with cavalry. This should do the trick. Kill the enemy general. Alright, now we'll send in the other ones. And this should pretty well do it. Yeah, they're running. Yeah, you better go. Well, that's interesting. They chose to go after the other guys. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let these guys continue firing then. And they can finish off the infantry themselves. And we'll pursue these guys with the cavalry. And now they're running. That's it. All right, we'll let them get away. So we lost 261 men, took out 601 of his 640. So we'll take that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and hit end turn. We're going to see what happens here with this army out in the west. Yeah, he's right on the verge of hitting Cheyenne. That's going to be a big one. Now, Edward Bates has a mistress, our Attorney General. Pretty much everyone in the cabinet, the president included, seems to have been keen to take a mistress. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and send some of these troops back to get refit. But I'm going to hold the rest of that force there just to protect that farm for the time being. We're going to eventually focus on moving down here toward, I assume this is... No, that's still Tennessee. I guess Atlanta's all the way down here. No, over here. No Atlanta? Okay, no Atlanta. This should definitely be Atlanta here. Okay. So this force will be really close, but not quite there. So we're going to be heavily outnumbered when that comes. And I have a feeling that's coming here in the next turn. In the meantime, I'm going to go in and just kind of find all of my units that I just queued up and get them moving down toward Washington. Eventually we're going to have a showdown with this army, but I don't think I want to do that quite yet. So we now have generals available in the recruitment window, so we can start picking who we want. And of course they all cost money. We're going to go ahead and pull up General Grant. There's Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. We'll get him. Hancock. Give me a Sherman. Actually, you know what? We're gonna queue up Sherman and Grant in the west. It's not going to let me do that, huh? Okay. I guess we can only do that in certain places. So we'll recruit them out here and we'll send them where we want them after that, I guess. Well, that's interesting. Now I don't have them. They're in the capital, that's why. Philadelphia is the capital. So it's got to be done there. Alright, give me Grant, which we have no picture of apparently. Give me Sherman. That'll probably be... Oh, hey, Union Colored Infantry. Awesome. Give me a 54th Massachusetts for sure. There's a lot of new options now here. Alright, I think that'll be good for now. I gotta be careful on my money, so we'll go ahead and advance one more turn, I think, and we'll see how things go from there. Alright, here comes the Siege of Cheyenne, and he actually is slightly outnumbered, which is nice to see. But he's still got an advantage, and I think the main reason why is a couple of things. Number one, he's got these 32-pounder guns. He's actually got a ton of artillery, some of whom is really experienced. So I'm nervous about this, but we got to fight it. So, wow, I may get lit up here without artillery. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so I'll be honest here as I'm looking at this situation, especially because he's got these 24-pounders, two sets of them, plus a 32-pounder, which is really unusual to me because in the Civil War they didn't really have guns out in the field that were that big, unless they were in sieges. And me mostly with militia and a little bit of vedette cavalry, this is not a battle I can win. I'm honestly inclined to save my army here. But it doesn't look like that's an option to me. So, alright, we're going to fight this, but we're going to try to back out as quickly as possible. Alright, so what I've tried to do is pull back as far to the rear as possible. It takes away his high ground and hopefully makes it take a little longer for him to get his artillery into position. But as you can see, his artillery already hit me a few times as they were marching into position. And I'm just desperately hoping I can get something going here, or at least take out as many of him as I can along the way. In the meantime, I'm going to try to send my cavalry out and around and maybe hit his artillery in the rear, but it looks like he's bringing his artillery up. So that may not even be an option for me either. So I may just have to send my cavalry in here to try and take out whoever I can. In the meantime, my units are already retreating. I'm going to back these guys up if I can. Try to take as many of him with me as I can. I tried to get behind this wall, but it kept wanting to put me on the other side, which is obviously not what I want to do. Yeah, see? That's not what I want. There should be a way to do that, and I haven't figured it out yet. All I can do here is try and take out as many of him with me as I can. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my whole army anyway. Gotta have artillery. That is the lesson from this. Must have artillery with all units. Come on, guys. Do your best. Alright, my cavalry's trying to take out as many of him as I can along the way. This is the Alamo for me. The last stand in Kansas. Alright, here he comes. Yep, he just ran through my flank over here. I got problems now. Melee mode. Wow. Yeah, a force of all infantry just has no chance against the combined arms with infantry, artillery, and cavalry. Just hoping I can take about 1,000 of him with me. See, I'm actually doing okay where it's just infantry on infantry. In fact, the 2nd Indiana is doing really well. Oh, here comes the artillery. Everybody's running now. Alright, well, it was fun while it lasted. Interesting he's firing his artillery even while his cavalry's down here. Alright, take as many of them with you as you can, boys. And then there were 2. Got the 1st Kansas hanging on. These militia units that I haven't even actually given a name to yet. Oh, wow. That was brutal. Yep, that's enough, they said. Who's left? Just these guys. And they're done too. Wow. That was brutal. That was brutal. But again, a good lesson learned. Got to have cavalry and artillery with every one of my forces in the field if I'm going to have any chance at all. Good thing to know. Well, my goal was to take out 1,000 of his men. I darn near did that. I took out 981, but I lost all 4,000 of mine. And with it, I lost Kansas. All right, so that's where things stand at this point. We're going to wrap it up right there. Things are grim in the west, but going pretty well in the east. We're just going to have to start putting more pressure on him in the east so that he does not continue to just march roughshod across all my armies in the west. Let's go ahead and take a look at the overall situation as we wrap up this episode. We've got our generals now, Grant, Hancock, Chamberlain, Sherman. We've got the U.S. Colored Infantry in Pennsylvania, which we're going to go ahead right now and name after, obviously, the one of the first and, of course, the most famous of all the colored infantry units, which the movie was made about them, the 20th Maine. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Not the 20th Maine. What am I thinking? 54th Massachusetts. We'll get the 20th Maine, of course, as well. All right, so we're going to wrap up right there. No fear. I'm really not worried about this. I've just got too much in terms of resources. I've got an ally. As long as he doesn't get an ally like Britain or someone, I'll be okay. We've got Mississippi, controlled by the United Provinces. I've got Tennessee. He really has very little territory, just really along the coast right here. So it's just a matter of squeezing him out down here, take Florida, move up through North and South Carolina, take Richmond, and just kind of hang on and just build kind of a wall out here to not let him go any further than Kansas. I'm not going to try to advance and take that back. I'm really just going to keep him from taking anything further. Once I deal with him in the east, I can come back here and deal with him in the west. So, as always, thanks for watching, guys. Please hit that thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you again real soon.